You can introduce yourself when you are ready.
I'm Kathleen Cat Rickus.
Now, we are here in celebration of Grant. Starting with this place and this location that we find ourselves in, Full Circle Book Co-op, it has found its way to being a hub for all of the misfits and the punks and those who needed and seek their people. What brought you here?
Well, I knew Sean, and I had worked with Sean for some time, a few years at least, and then I abruptly made a change and quit my job and decided I was kind of thinking about going back to school, and I wasn't really sure, and so I was in this transition. I called up Sean and said, I could volunteer for you. I'd find myself with some free time and I could volunteer for you at the store. He had just started it, and he's like, oh, well, I'm leaving town. Do you want to work here? And so I did. And just started working here probably like a month after they opened or something. They opened in November, and I started working probably the end of November, actually, and was their first and OG employee.
Gotta put that in there.
Yeah,
Gotta put it in. It's
and
true.
I think everyone can agree
Yes.
the worst bartender they have ever had.
Oh,
It's
no,
really
that's
bad,
not true.
really bad. So I was thankful that there was this guy who kept coming around who would like help me out and talk to people that I couldn't handle and talk to me a lot, and who seemed to really have an affinity for this place and for what Sean was trying to do, and was just fully supportive whenever his friends tried to do something. So he was here quite a bit, and I got to know Grant here.
So it was at Full Circle Book Co-op that you met Grant for the first time?
Well, I met him really sort of virtually, because Sean had a little USB drive that he gave me that was music that he had done with Grant, and I was like, oh, Sean's new band is pretty good. And I started following them on Instagram, and them being just Grant. He did everything, and I didn't even know it. I didn't know it for like months after knowing Grant and meeting him and talking with him and stuff. So it was like, oh, wow. It's kind of fangirl, at first, and that was truly the thing that attracted me first, was just his talent. Just, wow, someone's actually doing this kind of stuff, and I loved it.
It's awesome. It seemed like music was a major theme around Grant, and somehow was just magnetic with bringing people in and drawing musicians to a thing happening. What were some happenings that you remember being a part of with Grant?
Oh God, a lot of stuff that was really memorable, and a lot of little things, like when he would show up here and somebody didn't have an amp, so he got an amp from his car and gave it to him, or something. And also the bigger events like the psych night that we did together, and I had to enlist his help making video and editing video because he was so good and so fast and could do stuff that I would get stuck on. And so even when he didn't really want to participate, he would still help me or help Sean or do what he could for different events and stuff like that. I mean, every time somebody played here, it seemed like he was around and had something to offer, like, you know, being here in support or being here to help somebody with their music or to collaborate or to talk about collaborating. And it was very special.
Lots of memories spent with one person. What is a memory that you can say you remember that you share with him specifically?
Some of the most memorable, like, I would feel him and his presence in one particular place in my house. And it was just the back stairs, right outside the back door. We'd sit on the back stairs and talk, and he would say stuff like, you know, it's all just very simple, really, when you think about it. And that meant that he was able to see an overview of things that other people don't, and that he could narrow things down from that overview into what was really important. And that stuck with me. Just that little conversation has stuck with me and like created some kind of energy for me out of just sitting there talking. And there are many conversations out there, but that comes to mind for sure.
If there was something you could say or describe in detail that you were left with, what would you say it was that Grant left you with?
One thing he left me with was a sense of urgency. That the things in your life that you want, you need to just go after and do. And it's almost strange. A lifetime ago. It was 3 years.
Yeah. If you could elaborate back on the driving force, the fact that he wasn't just a artist who was throwing himself by the wayside, flying by the seat of his pants. He had a foundation, and he built his castle on top of that.
And he did have a castle. At the end, he had everything where he wanted it. I realized, you know, he had a good relationship. We had a good relationship. And he had friends and people to collaborate with, and he had art, and he had work, and he had family, and he had great relationships with his family members and with his mom and with his stepdad, and just I want to do more of that now, just having known him.
It's a motivator. It was that spark. But he wasn't just a spark. He put the effort in to continue building all of those relationships. And he put the effort in to see people succeed where they wanted to.
Yeah, because he had a lot of empathy as a person. He had the ability to understand people and know where they were coming from quickly. You know, so many of us are in our own conversation and we're in our own heads and coming from our own perspective so much of the time. And that was one thing a lot of people said to me, but Rex in particular said, you know, he never judged people. And part of that was knowing that he had a lot of things that he was dealing with, but part of it was just understanding and empathy for others that was kind of above, and that was unique to people that I've met.
If you could leave him with anything to say, I know this is the hard one. If you could leave with anything to say to him, what would you tell him?
I tell him I love you so much. You know? And that he made it all count. Truly, in 28 years, he made it count. Like, how many people can say that, you know? In 50 years, in, 80 years. Made it all count, and you cast your silhouette and you influenced people in a way that is something that we'll take through the rest of our lives. Yeah.